Listen-only mode.
Welcome to our webinar. If you have problems with your connection on the computer or your head, maybe you can't hear as well as what you think it is, or it's distorted, or you have no picture, you can call webinar support at 1-800-263-6317. They're really nice people and they will help you to get going again. So that number again, 1-800-263-6317. I will be your presenter tonight. My name is Bunny Gates, and I hope you like the project that I've worked up. We're going to be working in the Janome Digitizer MBX, and that software is just so great. I know you're just going to love it. All right, so we're working on Applique tonight, and Applique allows you to combine various fabrics to embellish a variety of items. Applique, I don't know about you, but I've been doing it long before the home embroidery machines came around, and I love the look of it. And with the embroidery machines, it is so much easier than what it used to be to do. Determining the types of applique to work with will depend primarily on the fabric and the purpose of the item. So for example, if you're working on a t-shirt that you want to use for casual wear, an applique can be put on there, and maybe you want to use the raw edge technique. That way you don't have a lot of weight going there, you don't have a lot of stitches on there, very comfortable to wear. Children's wear, things for babies. Applique is really great for that because you can put a design on something that is larger than what you could with embroidery stitches, and it will look very nice, and they'll be comfortable in it because there's not a lot of stitches, so it's very soft and nice to wear. So why do we do applique? Well, other than what we just talked about, it helps to reduce the stitch count. So maybe you have a fabric that you're going to work on, and if you do an embroidery design on it, maybe it'll pucker it all up because there's just too many stitches on it. Where if you go to applique, it may lay nice and flat and smooth because there's a minimal amount of stitches included in that. It's quicker to stitch out, so in a lot of cases when I'm in a big hurry, I'm leaving town to go teach somewhere or do something like that, I may only have a short amount of time. So applique is a lot quicker for me to get stitched out and ready to go. It's softer to wear. You can add so much texture to your designs by using applique. You can use a variety of fabrics to add a different dimension to what you're working on. There's some different types of applique that maybe you've seen some of these terms before. There's straight stitch or otherwise called a flat stitch. There's reverse applique, satin stitch, there's buttonhole stitch, blind stitch, raw edged, and mola. I've tried to do a bunch of different techniques for this particular project so that you would get to know the software a little bit more. Applique shapes. There's so many different places that you can get the artwork to turn into appliques. A lot of them I draw out myself, or my kids drew some out. Now I'm into grandchildren, so some of those. You can find them in coloring books. A lot of magazines that you'll see, you may see a picture and that could be turned into a really cool applique. So, and then of course the internet, there's all kinds of stuff on the internet. Just don't forget to check on copyright. If you're using somebody else's artwork, you need to check on the copyright of that and make sure that it's okay for you to use that for your applique or for anything else. Embroidery software was designed to digitize images for an embroidery machine to read. Once digitized, the image can be transferred onto the fabric to create images such as logos or to decorate a number of different items. You may have software that doesn't do any applique. So it kind of depends on the software that you're getting. The Digitizer MBX has the applique capabilities for you to do. So when we're looking at an image to do our applique, make it into applique, keep in mind that there's different layers a lot of times to applique. You're just not laying them out. They may overlap. When they overlap, when you're looking at that image, you have to decide which of those items is the furthest away, because the one that's furthest away is the one that you want to start with. It needs to be under the other parts of the applique. And you'll see a little bit more when we get to the project on how you might look at that object and figure it out. So the steps for an applique: when the software creates that applique, you tell it you want to do applique. What it does is it's going to stitch a placement line. So you got your object on there, you put your hooped background fabric or garment, whatever you're putting in the applique on, you put that onto your machine, and the first thing that stitches out is a placement line. That shows you where to put your applique fabric. So you want to lay a piece of your fabric that you want, the applique fabric over that placement line, making sure that you have that whole placement line covered. And then when you put that, start stitching again, it will embroider a tack down stitch. This is the stitch that's going to be under your finishing stitch. So what we're going to do is we're going to carefully remove the hoop from the machine, being careful not to get the fabric out of that hoop. You want to make sure your fabric stays in a hoop. We're going to trim away the excess fabric from outside of the tack down stitches. If you nick a tack down stitch every now and then, it's okay, don't worry about that. We try not to, but it'll be covered, it's okay. Then after you have that excess fabric trimmed away, you're going to carefully put your hoop back on the machine, and then it will stitch the finishing stitch around the edges, and it will do any of the decorative stitches that you have added to that applique. So it's really a whole lot easier than what it used to be, when we would have to get everything prepared and sit down at our machine and manually do a satin stitch and pivot and turn all the way around it, although I did love doing that. Some of the items that are easy or that are popular to put applique on would be bags, tote bags, beach bags. A lot of it I put onto some of the little purses that I make, stuff like that. I love applique, I love embroidery, so I add it to everything. Wall hangings. I have a lot of applique wall hangings hanging in my home. Mending. When my children were little and they would have a rip in their jeans or their pants, I would take a little shape and put that over that, applique it on there. It not only saved that pair of pants, but it made them look a little bit special that way. And towels, pillowcases, clothing, baby clothes are a big one for appliques. Quilting, you can make badges, do logos, put them on patches, and then sew them onto things. So today's project is this pillow that I created, and I have a bunch of different techniques in this pillow. So each block has a little bit different technique, so that you can see when we go into the software what some of the things that you can do when you start creating your own appliques. So we've used partial applique, satin outline, digitized parts of the design to add to the applique, added borders, and added decorative motif. So a lot of things. Now tomorrow, this project and video will be available on our janome.com website. So you'll be able to recreate this if you wish. So I'm going to go to the software right now, and I'm not going to do everything in each block. I'm just going to go through enough to where you can see how that technique works and where you would go. And then when you get the instructions, then you can go step by step and recreate each one of these blocks. So let me change over here real quick to our software. And I'm going to work on the bird first. If you looked at that pillow, there was a branch, tree limb on there as well. That I'm not going to go over because it's going to be, some of it will be just like when I did the bird. So we don't need to go over that. So up here in our menu bar, up here at the top, we have lots of different things that we can do. And this bird image that I used was from a fabric cutter die. I don't know, maybe you have a fabric cutter, you've got all those dies, you can cut out the shape, but then you have to figure out what to do with it. You could sometimes buy embroidery designs that work with that shape, or you can manually, like we talked about, pivot and turn all the way around it with a satin stitch. Or I scanned it into my scanner, I saved it, and I can go up under image here and I can scan, which I did the first time around. But right now I'm going to insert image because I have saved it alongside. So I am going to look at all my files here, and here's my bird. And I'm going to open it. Now the bird is, you can see that it really is fabric. So what I did to get this image was I ran it through that fabric cutter with fabric that I was going to want to make my little bird out of. And then I just scanned that fabric image. So here he is, and now we're going to turn him into applique. So first of all, we need to go for our Digitizer toolbar over here to the left-hand side of the screen, and this little icon here is our applique. I'm going to click onto that, and now what I need to do is I have to trace this bird. So as I go around it, I'm going to left-click, will give me a point. If I right-click, it's going to give me curves. So I'm going to right-click around this bird. Right here I'm going to do a left-click, right-click, 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 right-click. I don't have to actually finish this up to there because when I hit enter on my keyboard, it will finish it. See, that line is not hooked to my cursor any longer. It finished from this dot to the first one I started at. Now, if I hit enter again, it shows me stitches. Let me zoom in a little bit more so you can see that better. There we go. All right, so now I have satin stitches around it. I didn't do the beak, and you'll see why in a little bit. So I'm going to go down here to my edit toolbar. And I have lots of different things that I can do with my edit toolbar. But what I want to do first of all is I want to go to my object details. And this, when this dialog box opens up, you can see that it has different tabs. Well, there is one here for applique. So I want to click on the applique tab. I'm going to change the width of my satin stitch. And in this case, I really didn't change it a whole lot. And I also want to change this inside percentage. What this is It's how far inside our satin stitch this goes. I do 50% a lot of times for myself. You will find what you like to do best. The outside here, that automatically changed. As soon as I put a percentage over here, it changes that one to the rest of up to 100%. So what that means is when I come over here, it will be halfway in between the edges of my satin stitch. If I did more, it would be maybe closer to the outside edge. Halfway works for me. I want to make sure I catch the edge of my fabric in under that satin stitch all the way. I don't want to see the edge of my fabric sticking out over here, and I don't want to have my satin stitch too far over to where I don't catch all the fabric in it. So I would suggest that when you do applique for the first time, play around with that percentage and stitch them out and see what happens so that you'll know what works best for you. Also, we have applique style. I'm on pre-cut right now, and that's because I have the fabric cutter die. I pre-cut my fabric already, so I could take my stitching placement line that's going to stitch, and that will show me exactly where to put my pre-cut applique piece, and that will be inside that line all the way around. We'll use trim in place a little bit later, and you'll see how that works. And then we're going to click on OK. So now we've set up our bird to be applique. Now let's do his beak. We're still in our applique mode. If you look over here, it still has the blue box around it, which means it's selected. So I can come right up here and just start clicking. I only have to do that far because, again, when I hit enter, it will close that up for me. So I'm going to click on enter, and I'm going to click it again, and that finishes it. Now I know that doesn't look good. Don't worry about it. We're going to fix it in a minute. We're going to come down here on our edit toolbar and click on select. This tells the software that we're done with applique. Anytime that you're in a certain mode and you don't know how to get out of it for some reason, go down to that select button. That will take you out of that mode. All right, so now we have this beak selected. I want to select the bird as well, so I'm going to hold my control key down on my keyboard and click on it. I now have them both selected. I want to go over here to my applique, and it's got a flyout menu. See this little dark triangle in the corner here? If I put my cursor on it and hold my left mouse button down, I have a flyout menu. I want this partial applique. So I'm going to take my mouse over there, let it go, and now I need to click on it because it has put it over there, but it doesn't know I want to use it. So I'm going to select that, and now let me show you what happened. Under this beak, it changed that satin stitch to a connecting stitch. It just stitches straight stitches over and picks it up again over here. That's what I wanted to do. I don't want to do my beak and have this satin stitch under it because it's going to be a lump. So I'm trying to avoid that. So now my beak is selected here, and I want to delete that. So on my keyboard, I'm going to hit delete, and it's gone. It's because I'm not going to applique my beak. I'm going to digitize that. So I'm going to go over on my Digitize toolbar again. I'm going to click on Parallel Weave Fill. And then I'm going to come over here, and similar to what I did before, I'm going to set some points. And again, I can stop there, click on Enter, and it fills it. So now we have it digitized, but I can see that we have a little bit of an issue here because our satin stitch ended before it was under our beak. So to fix that, I'm going to come down here and I'm going to click on my select. I'm going to click on reshape object. Now I can see that I have my start point, my end point, I have an angle lever here, I have stitch points. What I'd really like to do is leave the size of that the same, so I'm going to select my bird instead. And I don't know if you can see the points here or not, but I can grab them and I can pull them in until they are just under the beak a little bit. I want it overlapping, but not real far. Also, if you have maybe your bird didn't turn out as smooth as you would like it, you can grab some of these little points and you can kind of move those around to smooth that out. You can add more points to it if you want to. All you have to do to add one is put your cursor on that line. A left click would give you a point, and that's not good, so we'll undo. Love undo. If we wanted a curve, we could add a curve. So, not sure what's going on with my software, of course. Nope. All right, well, normally you can do that. You can move these anyway. Can you see how I've got the little, I moved that too far? So this would be something I would want to fix when I was working this. Okay, so let me go back to our select. And I also want an eye on this bird. So I'm going to go over here under my Digitize toolbar, click on Parallel Weave Fill Circle. And then I can bring my cursor over here and hold my left mouse button down and drag a circle until I have the size that I would like on there. And of course you can adjust that if you need to. Going to go back to my Edit toolbar, click on Select. I can move the eye to where I want it. I can change the color by going up here on our thread palette, and I'm going to click on black to change that. I'm going to do the same thing for the beak. I'm going to go there, but I want that one to be orange. And the bird, I'm going to select that stitch and pick a dark blue. So there's a few things I'm missing on this. We have the colors. We're good to go on that. I do want to go over here on my Digitize toolbar, and I want to choose Satin Line. And you can see it's not closed up, which means I can make a wing on here. So again, left click for your points. You're going to do right clicks for curves. So I just want to kind of do that, and then I would left click there. And to tell it I'm done, just click on Enter, and there we have it. So now I'm going to go down here on my select again because I would like to change that to a light blue. He's coming along quite well. Now I want some tail feathers on this little baby. So I'm going to work off here, and I'm going to move this around to leave myself enough room. And to do those, again, Digitize toolbar, Parallel Weave Fill. And I'm going to start somewhere just inside these stitches here because I do want this to overlap a little bit. And left click, right click. Now, I was a little bit more careful with the first one I did, but for this, I just need to make sure you have enough time to see everything. So I'm just going to do 2 tail feathers on this one. On the one in the instructions, you're going to see that there's 3. You can do however many you would like. All right, so I've got those done. Remember, I'm still stuck to it. Enter on the keyboard, and that finishes it off. Now, I can see a problem with this, and I'm sure you can too. Not only would I want to shape that a little better, so down here on our Edit toolbar, I'm going to click on Select, and I'm going to click on Reshape. So I can come up here. Maybe I need to smooth out my shape a little bit better. Maybe I need to add a little point there. Move that one. So you can see that you can actually make this into a better shape once you're done. You can see where you need to kind of work on it. And the angle, let's change the angle a little bit. Maybe we'll go up 45. But you can see that by changing the angle on things, you can change the way they look. And you may like it better with a different angle. It'll catch the light differently. It will look different. So we're going to do that, and then we need to tell the software we're done reshaping. We would come down here on the toolbar and on the edit toolbar and click on select. That's how we get out of that. Now, another problem I can see is that our tail feathers are going to stitch right on top of our bird, and I don't think we want that. So I'm going to change the color of this to the light blue like the wing, and over here in my resequence dialog box, you can see on here all the objects that we have created and built our bird with. And the tail feathers are still selected, and over here in our resequence you can see which one is selected because it has a blue outline to it. So I'm going to hold my left mouse button down and I'm going to drag that all the way up to the very top above the bird. And look what happened. It now will sew the tail feathers under the applique for the bird. Changes the order of what we're doing over here. So the order of everything else is in the order that I want it to stitch. So I'm really good with that. And at this point I would save this. It's kind of cute, don't you think? I would kind of go up to File, do a Save As, and a lot of times I go up there when I go to make a new design. Go up there, I name it right away, tell it where I want it to save it, and then as I go along I can keep going up here and click on Save. That way if something should happen, I don't have to worry about starting all over again. So saving as you go along is a good thing to get in the habit of. All right, so now I'm going to go under File and I'm going to click on New. I want to start a new workspace, and that way I can create another part of my pillow. So I'm going to work on a flower next, and you can't see the hoop here because I shut it off. If you like to work with seeing your hoop, you can go right up here under Display Hoop, and when you click on that you will be able to see that the hoop is in the area. Now I do work in that mode sometimes when I want to make sure my design is going to fit into the hoop. Sometimes it's distracting to me, so I turn it off. In this case, for what I'm doing right now, I'm going to turn it off so that I don't see it. And that way it doesn't distract me at all. All right, so I need to import my image of the flower. Now the flower is another one of those things that was a die. So, but this time instead of cutting out a fabric, I cut it out of paper because I can use that paper over and over again for other things if I want to. And I didn't have my fabric chosen yet for my flowers, so I'm going to go under Image, Insert Image, and I'm going to pick my flower. And you'll be able to see on this one, all right, come back here. All right, where are you? You know, some days, all right, stop playing. Okay, you can see that this is paper instead. I used a hard, what did I use? I used a card weight paper so that it would scan really well and it will stay in my folder and everything. So when we have that done, we now need to digitize this as applique as well. So I'm going to go back over here to my Digitize toolbar. I'm going to click on the flyout menu and click on the A again. And now we're going to do just like we did with the bird. We need to outline it. And again, if you don't want to spend a lot of time doing that, remember we can always reshape it, because it will have to be, if it's going to be a pre-cut, it has to be accurate. So this would be something that we would want to make sure that we did. For this particular thing that we're doing right now, I probably won't be that accurate because you're not going to want to sit here while I do that. All right, so I'm going to come down here and I will fix a little bit of it. Like here you can see that I do need to add another point to it so I can move that in. And you can see how easy it is to reshape this to where it actually does fit on our shape. And I'm not sure why the bird didn't work right, but this one is working just fine. So you want to make sure that it's snugged up to the paper, the image, and not real far into it. But you can really see like where the image ends right there. So you just need to go onto the edge of it. And we should be about right. Okay. All right, so now we have that done. I'm going to go back down here to my select and tell it that I'm done with that. So now I want to also have a center of the flower. Somewhere I know I have a die cut for the center of this as well. I couldn't find it, so this is not a big deal because we can go up and we can go ahead and create our own. So I'm going to go to the Digitize toolbar, and I'm going to click on our applique because we want this to be an applique as well, and I'm going to just do right clicks because this is going to be a circle. And again, I'm not too concerned with where it's setting on that flower. Twice with the enter key finishes it. Now I'm going to go down on our edit menu bar and toolbar, and I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to move it in the center of my flower, and I'm going to change the color of that to yellow. You can see over in our resequence that we have a flower and we have a yellow center. Now for this, I would like to group these things together because I'm going to be adding more flowers and more centers to this. So I'm going to hold my control key down and click on the flower, and now I have both of these selected. If in doubt, go look over here in your resequence and you can see both of these objects have the blue line around them, which means they are selected. You could select them over here as well, so that is always an option as well. So now we have that together. I need to group it, so I'm going to go up here in my menu bar up here, and I'm going to click on Edit and Group. This makes that flower all one thing. So if I tried to select one piece of it, I can't. I would have to ungroup it. When I click on it, it's going to select both pieces from here on out. All right, so this is the flower we're going to use. I'm going to go up here to my standard toolbar, and I'm going to click on Copy. And then I'm going to click on Paste. Now, in your resequence, you'll be able to see that we have two on the screen here. So I'm going to take that, and I'm going to move it somewhere up there. And we can also click on it again and get the open rotation handles, and we can rotate that a little bit. And then I'm going to go back up here on my standard toolbar, and I'm going to click on Paste again. That just added another one. So I'm going to select that one and I'm going to move that. So you can see that we can just keep going. Now if the original image on here bothers you at all, sometimes it does for me and sometimes it doesn't, if you select that, you can move it. If it's selected, you could click on the delete button on your keyboard and it's gone. So sometimes it doesn't bother me, sometimes it kind of gets in my way. Sometimes you will try to select something and you'll keep selecting the image instead. So you may want to delete that sometimes. It's up to you. All right, so now what we've got here is we have 3 flowers. We can see them all in a resequence over here. And you can also see that they overlap. What's going to happen if we stitched it like it is, we would be having a lump over here under our applique fabric where this satin stitch would be stitching. Well, we don't really want that. We'd like it to be nice and smooth and not look like there's something under there that doesn't belong. So again, we need to select everything. We're going to hold down our control key, click, and click. Now I have them all selected. Over here in my resequence, I would double check and make sure they all have blue boxes around them. And then I'm going to come back over here and use that flyout menu for my applique and pick partial applique. Now when I chose that, you can see that it went from the satin stitch and it did the tack down or the placement line, then it did the tack down, and then it didn't finish that off with a satin stitch. So that would be perfect for what we want. And that would be our flowers for that block. So now I'm going to go back up here and I'm going to go to the standard toolbar and click on New. Remember how I got to that before? I went under File and New. So a lot of the shortcuts that you see on these toolbars, you can get to them under that main menu at the top. But since we know it's here, we're just going to click on that one and it will open up a new workspace. This time we're going to do the block that had the lettering in. I'm not going to do all of the letters because you'll get the idea, you know, when I'm doing just one letter on what to do, and the instructions will tell you. So we have our workspace open. We're going to go up here to our lettering. On our lettering bar, we're going to click onto that, and that's going to open up our Object Details dialog box. And our lettering tab is selected. I want to choose the hollow block. So they are in alphabetical order, so you can go down. And I played around with some different lettering until I found the one that I really liked the looks of. I'm going to change the size to 2.5. You can see there's lots of different choices there. Not going to mess with the width. I'm going to just type a J, capital J, and I'm going to click on OK. Now nothing happens when I come back here. You can see there isn't anything there. You have to click in your workspace. And sometimes you will be able to, if you have other things on your screen, you might want to pick a little place maybe to click that would be where you want it. In this case, it doesn't really matter. We just want it on our screen. All right, so we have a J. We want to now make this into applique. This J is an embroidery design. It's going to embroider the J. So we can take that, go over here to our flyout menu on our applique, and click applique. When we do that, we can now trace this like we did the other things to make them into applique. So I'm just going to click around here until I get this J outlined. And again, it will finish it off if I hit the enter, and I'm going to hit it again. Now, there is two of them there. Over here in the resequence, you can see that there's two of them. One has an A next to it. That would be the applique. One says it's just lettering. You can choose it over here in the resequence, the first letter that we put up there that is in the embroidery, and then click the delete key on your keyboard, and that will go away. So now we have our applique letter. So now I want to change the width and stuff with this to where it will look like the other appliques that we did. So I'm going to go down here on our edit toolbar, and I want to do object details again. We're going to go to our applique tab. I'm going to change it again to 15. Change my percentage to 50%. This one I definitely am going to do trim in place. And I'll show you in a minute how you can make this into a pre-cut as well. But this one we're working off of letters, and it wasn't an object that I ran through a fabric cutter. So in this case I want trim in place, and I would click on OK. If I wanted to do this pre-cut, I could go up under File, Print Preview, and it will show me my J. It will show me my applique pattern over here, and what I could do with that is I could print that out. I could use this over here to cut my J out, and then it would be a pre-cut. Over here under Options is where you would go. Right now we are in template mode right now, so it would print our outlines, our design worksheet, embroidery information. Our design size I would want at actual size, not fit to page, because if I do fit to page, it may reduce the size of it, and then it will not work. So I want actual size, and I want applique patterns, and then I would click on OK. I'm not going to do that now because I don't want this to print. So I'm going to click on Cancel. To get out of Print Preview, we are going to click on Close. Now, when I was in Options, it wouldn't print right from there. You'd have to click on Print Now. Okay, so you'd get your options, figured out what you want it to do, click on Print Now. To close this up, we're going to close with that button right there. All right, so now we are ready to select this letter because I want to do a few more things to it. And I'm going to go back down here to my Edit toolbar, and this little thing right here is Outlines and Offsets. I had so much fun using this thing. We want to set this offset at 0.5, offset count at 1. I do want the type as satin line. You can see there's lots of different options. Whenever you see a little arrow at the end of a box there, that means there's more than one thing to choose. I am using the Janome thread. If I wanted to change the color here, I could change it. Maybe I'd want to do that in yellow. Your choice. Click on OK, and look, it outlined it. And when we go back to the PowerPoint, I'll show you how a little bit better. Maybe you didn't notice the whole word, how that actually went around that word, but it's really kind of cool. All right, so now I want to add a little motif to my design as well. So I'm going to go up here under my main menu, my menu bar, and I'm going to click on Embroidery and Embroidery Gallery. These are all built into your software. I'm going to choose a motif set. I want EMB Gallery, but I can also do blackwork. I want to stick with this one. There are other options. I'm going to go scroll down until I get to Flora 4. That would be this one right here. And again, they're in alphabetical order, so if you know the name of it, it's easy to get back to it. And I'm going to click on OK. Now, I have a motif that is attached to my cursor. It wants me to set the point where that cursor is. So maybe I would come up here and left click. Then it wants to know where to set this point over here where my cursor is. So I can rotate this in a lot of different ways, but I'm just going to left click there. And now that one's set. It did stick with the yellow. And I have another one that's attached to my cursor. I only want one today, so to tell it I'm done, I need to push the escape key on my keyboard, and that finishes it. I need to come back down here on my edit toolbar, click on select, and that selects it. So maybe I'd want to change the color of that. Let's just change that to red to match the letter that we've got going here. You know, of course, that you can change color at your machine and it won't argue with you. You can do whatever you want with colors. All right, so now if you got that here and maybe you decide, well, I really would rather move it, you can move that wherever you want. Now, it's a design, so if I click on it again, it will give me my rotation handles, and I could rotate it. So you can fine tune it. Once you set it, it's not set in stone, so you can change things. All right, and over here in our resequence, we can see how those are going to stitch out. The letters, it'll do the outline, it'll do the motif. So let's go back to the PowerPoint now, and I'll show you that picture again. And you can see the lettering at the bottom here. I spelled out joy. I did the offset, the border, to go around the whole word. I liked that. I thought that was really cute. And then the motif I put right inside of the O on that word. So you could put that stuff anywhere, but I love those little motifs because you can just put them wherever you want them. And you can see our bird up here that I didn't give him legs. I just kind of nestled him into the branch a little bit, but left a little space there. Tail feathers are embroidered on. We have the little beak that's embroidered. And over here, when we did our applique, remember this, instead of did a satin stitch all the way under here, it changed it to just that tack down stitch. So I don't have any lump going on there, as well as here. So it just gives such a smooth appearance. All right, so now we're going to embroider the blocks, and it does go through that in the instructions. We're going to finish the pillow. Again, the instructions will take you step by step through there. The project instructions are available on the Janome website. It's under the Project Center tab and Webinars. So you would go to the tab for Project Center and then Webinars, and then you would find the projects and the video there. Now, when I was putting my project together, I found that the ditch quilting foot was wonderful for this. I don't know if you have it. If you don't, you might want to go get a demonstration of it. It is an awesome foot. It has a little flange here, right here, that runs right alongside of my hem here. And then I changed the needle position to just a little bit to the right of center, and that top stitched my hem on both back pieces very accurately, and it was just so easy to do. Also, I love that foot when I actually put those blocks together. I wanted to just top stitch alongside right by that rickrack. So with that ditch quilting foot, it just went so easy and quick. So if you haven't checked one of those out, you might want to do that. All right, our next webinar is going to be in September. I don't have a date for you right now. So you need to check the Janome website every now and then. It's also going to go out in the e-news. So you're going to check the website or your e-news for the next for the e-news. Then you're going to want to go to janome.com and click on Janome e-news. So it's up here at the top in this black bar up here. Can you see where it says Janome e-news? You would click onto that, and then this box comes up and it says join the list. So on this one here, you would click onto that, and it will take you to this form that needs to be filled out. So put your address in. If you don't want to put your name and your state, that information, that is not required. That's up to you. I went ahead and filled it all out. And then click on that bar that says subscribe to list. You will then get an email for you to verify that yes, you want to be on that list. So this will go to that email address that you put into that form. You need to click on where it says yes, subscribe me to the list. You click onto that, and that verifies that yes, you wanted to be on that list. So I want to thank you for joining us today, and I really want to encourage you to email questions or comments as you think of them, or maybe you see something in my instructions that you might need to comment on or ask me about. Please send your comments or questions to janomewebinar@janome-america.com.